Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we wrap up another fastest minutes in outdoor radio programming as we roll again toward that show number 500. And our anniversary, second Saturday in August, will be 19 years. We've been on the air here ever since I retired from the commercial appeal. It's hard to believe it was 19 years ago, and I'm busier now than I've ever been. This is the third Saturday, which means Frank Barton from Indian Motorcycles and Polaris and Barton Power Sports is with us on the line. Frank, I know that it seemed like we just started the show about 5 minutes ago, and here we are at the end, and you don't mind talking waterfowl in July, do you, Frank?
I've been looking forward to this segment the whole time.
That's what's kept you going, right?
You bet.
That's what kept you going. And folks, again, Indian Motorcycles over on Mount Moriah, that address, Frank, is what?
5715 Mount Moriah.
It'll open up at 8 o'clock this morning, but we are talking waterfowl here. And I know I don't know if I've ever we've talked a lot of waterfowl on Outdoors with Larry Ray, but I don't know if we've talked a lot about the greater white-fronted geese. We might have talked to Bruce Batt at DU because he was Mr. Snow Goose, and we talked to him all the time during his tenure, but I don't know if we've ever talked about specklebellies, or AKA, we know that, as the white-fronted geese, the greater white-fronted geese. And recently I talked to the pioneer himself, I guess, Mr. Taxidermy. I think one of the first persons I met when I became outdoor editor of the Commercial Appeal, he actually fed me a meal, I think, because he knew how skinny I looked trying to follow Henry Reynolds, was Pat Pitt. Pat, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
It seems like yesterday, doesn't it? So,
yeah, it does until I get up and take a step.
And then that's the good thing. You are taking a step. So that's why we're going to pull in the young guy here that I just had a chance to be introduced to. Know a lot about his family, his dad, his great-grandfather, all these different kind of things. And when you throw in some legendary names that goes along with this thing, when you throw in Bill Byers and the Hunter Club, Langell River and all that thing, it's good to have Cason Short on the line with us this morning also. Good morning, Cason.
Good morning, Larry. How are you today?
Doing great for an old man. Pat's trying to make me feel old, taking steps like that, and everything. So Pat is just on just to breathe. Every once in a while, Pat will breathe, so we'll know he's there. Okay, Frank, you make sure that Pat breathes, all right? So we could spend a whole show with Pat. But, Pat, you talked about this and gave me the idea to get Cason on. And, Cason, what are you guys you're doing? I mean, to tell our listeners out there, explain what's going on over at your place.
Well, essentially, what we're trying to study is wintering habitat and wintering use, on the wintering ground here in Arkansas, West Tennessee, Mississippi Delta. We want to study particularly white fronts and now mallards and see what their uses are, what they prefer, and what any kind of data that we can get from local movements and small movements here over the winter where it counts to the average duck hunter.
And you've done this through procedures of, if I'm not mistaken, you've even got one, if I'm not mistaken, you've got one specklebelly in Alaska.
That's correct. We've got one that's up around Prudhoe Bay right now. It's actually the only unit that is close enough to a cell phone tower to still be transmitting.
Amazing.
But she's up there, appears to be sitting on a nest, hopefully raising some new ones and getting ready to head back this way in a few weeks.
And so you guys, and Pat's been involved in this, in 2018, you said you started applying for permits and pursuing donors, able to get 12 units in November of 2019. So talk about these, when you say units, tell our listeners what that means.
So it's a GPS GSM unit. It's just a little tracker that actually provides a ton of data. It's got a triaxis sensor in it, so we're able to tell. When I say we, I'm mainly the biologist. I'm kind of ground level on this thing, but you can tell if the bird is flying, if it's standing, if it's sleeping.
Amazing.
You can tell the altitude that it flies, the ground speed that it's covering. Just a wealth of information from this little unit that's about the size of a 9-volt battery.
And what is this, Pat? You're listening to this, and you've been a waterfowl hunter for so long and everything else. Why is this important?
Well, the data it provides not only helps with setting seasons and bag limits and whatnot, but it tells us about the mortality. And one thing that I like the idea of these tracking devices, if we get them back down into our part of the world, we know that more birds are imprinting down here.
Yes.
And that's the key to it, getting these birds. This bird in Alaska, if she flies all the way back down and brings her brood, then they'll imprint on this area.
Yes, they will.
And then their little ones will imprint. I mean, the first banded whitefin I ever killed in Arkansas was banded in Alaska.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then, of
And
course,
that was in 1971.
1971. I can't believe you can remember that far back. I mean, that's a long time away. And then back in February, I know you've been working with Paul Link. Okay, Paul Link. He's the North American Waterfowl Management Plan Coordinator at the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. You've worked with Paul. What happened in February?
Well, February really stemmed out of our project in November. He expressed some interest in expanding his mallard study, challenged us once again to raise some money and see if we could focus some efforts into studying mallards. So we got together and funded, I believe it was 20 units.
Yes,
we were able to fund for mallards. And Pat was able to come out and help. And I'll give Pat this. You're knocking him for taking a step. I watched Pat pull some birds out of nets and do some hard work there in cold water in February. But we were able to get all those units out and send a bunch of mallards on their way. And so far, we're starting to reel in that data. And hopefully, as Pat alluded to, here in the fall, we'll be able to see if they're coming back to the same area that we banded them in, and start looking at those phylopatry bonds and see what's really going on.
Now, you explain to our listeners your background, Cason, because you got a pretty neat. God blessed you with a pretty good family to be part of. So, talk about that.
My dad certainly married up in the duck hunting world. I joke about that a good bit, but I grew up right here at our guide operation. My earliest memories are seeing guides and clients and duck hunters. So I've grown up in the outdoor industry. I've now kind of morphed into taking over that, and really, in the absence of my father and grandfather, I treasure more the role of being a steward of the land than just a duck guide. So I think that's where this project really kind of hits home with myself and Pat and a lot of other guys that get involved. Is it's a resource that we all have to take care of, or we won't have it.
And through this, I know these units are not cheap. So talk about you can always use help. So talk about what you need and how people can get involved in this. Because, folks, this is I love talking, as Frank Barton said, we love talking waterfowl because they're the most optimistic people. And Pat will say this, every season is going to be the best ever. I mean, it's just part of our genes, I think, and that's not starts with a J, but talk about what you're doing and the help you need.
The biggest thing that we need is financial support. Those little units are, for the unit and 2 years of data plan, they're about $1,750 a piece.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And that's the barrier to entry, is the expense of it. The beautiful thing is the amount of data that you get. And a lot of scientists kind of shy away from telemetry work because your sample sizes are pretty small. And the reason sample sizes are small is it costs a lot to conduct one of these studies.
Yeah.
Yep. So, we get a lot of people that want to come out and want to band birds and participate, boots in the mud, and that's great. We need a lot of those volunteers. But in order to even be able to do that, we need the money first.
And so how many folks now? I mean, what would be your optimistic? Let's just say 50 people came out there and say, hey, I want to help these folks. You won't turn them down, I know. So talk
no,
about
absolutely not.
Yeah, talk.
And Pat could tell a good story about this. I'm sorry. He brought out his grandchild in February and got to watch him participate and handle ducks and put bands on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was a pretty big moment for Pat.
Is that right, Pat? Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean, seeing we had 5 and 6 year old kids out there. Reed was 4 at the time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just light up over the fact that they get to handle a mallard and watch them put a band on it, and at a young age they understand, what this is all about. It's not something to put on your lanyard, and brag about. I mean, this is scientific data, and this is just something that everybody needs to understand about and be involved in. Reed still talks about it,
and we'll talk about
it again, of course. And,
yeah, and
it's a way of paying things forward and introducing the kids to something besides video games.
Well, and we all know that. So technically, what we've got right now, you got 12 units for the specs, right? And you got 20 for the mallards. So you can put $1,750 times 32, folks, what's already been invested. So here's your chance.
That's almost your salary.
That's my bad ear, Pat. I think that's one from the shotgun blast, standing next to Henry Reynolds too many years, okay?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and he missed more than that. No. Anyway, so how do they get involved in this? We got a couple of minutes here, Cason. So if somebody wants to get involved, I'm going to be putting this information on my website, lroutdoors.com. I'm going to try to do a story and a commercial appeal about it, but talk about how they get in touch with you.
So the easiest way to find links to that would be on our social media, either Instagram or on Facebook, Bill Byers Hunter Club. You can find us there, and we've got links up to go to it. It's part of the nonprofit that we are using for the money goes through the Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries Foundation.
Good, okay.
You can go to their link that we provided, and there's a pull-down tab that says Byers Farm Telemetry, and you can donate 25 cents up to $25,000 or whatever you want to donate. We will put to good use and study waterfowl here where it matters in our wintering ground.
Well, I appreciate you. Again, we will all this will be posted on lroutdoors.com, and we'll stay in touch. Hey, guys, thank y'all for being with us. I wish we had more time. We will talk later as we get further down the road, hook up with you guys, because I think it's pretty interesting. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Cason. Okay, guys, have a great Saturday morning, all right?
All right,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all. All right. Cason Short and Pat Pitt. And Frank, this is good data. I was knowing to do the specs, but I didn't know about the mallards. So we need to maybe when they start doing that in November, me and you can get out and watch some of that. All right, you spread the word, Frank, through the waterfowl community that you do, that what these guys are doing, and maybe we can help them out a little bit. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because it's good. Frank Barton, let me tell you about next week's show real quickly. Then we'll get out of here. Ron Wall, Bill Cooksey will be our co-host. We're going to talk to the head man at BASS, James Hall. He's going to talk about the newly released Best Bass Lakes of the Decade. Okay, we got that. We may have the winner of Major League Fishing's big event this past weekend, Justin Lucas. We will have Kevin Van Dam on next week's show. That's right, KVD on Outdoors with Larry Ray next week. Frank Barton, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Hope you have a great Saturday. Sell a bunch of equipment. Answer the phone, okay? All right.
Will do. Thank you, Larry.
All right. This is Larry Ray reminding you to do each and every week what, Frank? It doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else, Frank?
God
God bless the USA.